Good afternoon, Gabriel Philip, Cheryl Bishop, Althea, good afternoon to you. Pamela Moses, good afternoon, The Slimy Show, greetings. Annette Baird, Leon Graves, thank you so much. Cassie, Natalie F. Indeed, great is the PNM. Proud to be Trini, thank you so much. Jefferson Clark, Gerald Pascal Manswell, Terrence Big Trini for life. Cummings, greetings, sir. Yes, late start. My team and I, we went to mass this morning, and then we went to hand out some hampers to some persons who we would have met during the course of the last few days who needed some food assistance. So we were able to get some of our corporate constituents to donate some hampers for us, and we went to hand it out to them. So yeah, Sarah Richards, Ian Andrew Noalo Lee, greetings to you guys. Vivian Nicholas, Ann Niles, Kathy Belfon, Althea, greetings. John Keto. Pamela says, I'm making my list to do my counting tomorrow. Very good, very good. Angie Sherry, Alana Gonzalez, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Alana. Jennifer Nathan, greetings. Dexter James, Heather Lee. Yeah, so we're heading back out this afternoon around 4. There are just a couple areas that we didn't have an opportunity to visit. Because as I've said on numerous occasions, the constituency is very large, and persons would have heard that we were close to the neighborhood, but we didn't happen to come in, so they've reached out to us. So we'll just be visiting maybe a couple neighborhoods this afternoon just to wrap up things. And those persons who I have not seen, rest assured after the election, we will definitely come back. Leon Joseph says, Toko is red and ready. That is good. We need all 41 candidates. In particular, that is a good place to be red and ready, Leon, Toko Sangre Grande, because we know the UNC is working extremely hard in that constituency. Wayne Sturge, they're giving out all kind of things. I saw a video with them giving out water tanks and the like, hampers and so on. I saw in Tunapuna. I mean, these people are so shameless. I'm seeing a video with Roger Alexander. We posted it on the Debunking page on Facebook, where the UNC campaign in Tunapuna is handing out boxes of fries. So people passing on the main road, and they have this big truck parked over the side, and they're just taking out boxes of fries and handing it to the people. So I don't know if this is fries that is close to expiration, and some financier probably say, get them that now, let them give it out. That's what they think of you, right? The same people who always complaining about the hospital and they don't have enough beds in the hospital. Yeah, let me get them a set of stuff to run up their cholesterol and the like, that making sense. So Angie's asking if my last program will be on Tuesday or Thursday coming. So I'm not sure, Angie, it all depends on tomorrow's outcome. After all, this platform was created really to influence an outcome, a particular outcome for tomorrow. And I think once we are able to accomplish that, what happens thereafter, because I think once the PNM wins tomorrow, it would be very difficult for the UNC to get back into power anytime soon, because I can give you the assurance certainly that Stuart Chung and this new team will be getting the work done. All right, because I can speak for my own constituency. The ideas that my team and I have, along with persons who we have met who have offered to sit with us and formulate a plan as to how we go forward in delivering to the constituency. So, yeah, we visited parts of the constituency where persons say they felt neglected by the PNM. We hear that. We intend to address that. There are things that could be done in the short term in these areas. So we intend to treat with that. Yeah, so Clinton says to Trinidad and Tobago, please make the right choice tomorrow. Indeed. Marilyn Wanza Cloud, Denise Cummings, Sarah Richards. Yes, they're giving out cases of fries Sarah. I mean, desperation with these people, you know, it knows no limits. Yes, Althea, we need them not to win. As Mother Tunapuna would say, Kamla not coming back. And but it's up to you, all the voters, to ensure that that happens. All right. We, the 41 standard bearers for the PNM, we have done our work for the last, well, 6 months or so, because some persons would have been screened and selected since late last year, since October last year. So we have done our part. We came to you all, we spoke with you, we heard your issues. So we have done what we could. The campaign team has done what it could. We have presented you with the issues. We have presented you with the options that are before you. And so tomorrow is your turn. The campaign, we now hand over the campaign to you all to carry out the final leg. Okay? To ensure that Kamla gets the hat trick, her third consecutive general election loss. And well, I could tell you the wolves are waiting. And if it is they are not successful tomorrow, I think that it's safe to say that would be at the end of her political career. Well, at least as the leader of the UNC, or it should be. But, you know, we will hear about how the PNM teeth election and all kind of thing, and then the usual race talk about black people and who is monkey and who is cockroach and who is ape. The usual things that we hear, we would have heard in 2015 and 2020 and all of that, right? Yeah. That usually attends a PNM win on social media. All the Zandoli come out, they hold and they don't care, and they say the nastiest of things about PNM supporters, right? So, yesterday was the rallies of the various political parties. PNM was in Eddie Hart grounds, the UNC in their usual stomping ground of Arangwes. I understand NT was supposed to be somewhere in Arima. I don't know where the Patriotic Front was, if they even had a rally. But I can speak for the PNM's rally, which was extremely well attended, I must say. When I first got there around 4 o'clock, we were supposed to start at 3, but we had a motorcade through our constituency that took a little longer than we had planned. And we got there at about 3:45. So when we got inside, you know, people were still coming in, of course. And there was a decent crowd there, but the grounds wasn't filled at the time. And so I met a number of persons, some of who listened to the program, some of who used to listen to me, some of whom used to listen to me on the radio when I was there and all of that. And there was a lady that came and we were talking, and she said, you know, she was concerned about the size of the crowd. She felt, you know, it wasn't looking as compared to other crowds that she's been accustomed to. And she said her daughter was also concerned. And I looked around and I said, "No, man, don't worry, the crowd's still building," because there were tents around the entire perimeter of the field. So each constituency had a tent for their people. And so a lot of people were under the tent. So in terms of the center of the field area, you weren't seeing much people. And let me tell you all, in no time at all, that changed. When my group of candidates went up on stage and I looked out and I saw that crowd, it was wow. And there's no joke, this was no exaggeration. It was, I mean, you couldn't see, there wasn't space. No space. It was ram cram, as they say, massive. The PNM had a huge turnout. So contrary to what the UNC want to say and all of that, I can tell you the turnout was significant yesterday in Eddie Hart, and we are hoping that all that turnout will translate into votes. In fact, I bounced up my brother, my good friend, Javi Boris. And he was telling me, he said he went down on his way up to Eddie Hart. He passed by Arangwes, Savannah, and he said they had a decent sized crowd, but he said when he got to Eddie Hart and he saw the size of the PNM crowd, he was blown away. In fact, Faris Al-Rawi told me that the crowd that we had yesterday was much larger than 2015, which is good, right? So which is a good sign. We just have to make sure that tomorrow, all of those persons come out and exercise their franchise, exercise their civic duty, and cast their ballots. Yeah? Roger Monroe had a massive, massive, massive turnout. I saw a video just this morning of his motorcade, and it was wow. Marvin Gonzalez as well also had a massive motorcade. So I think things are looking good. Yeah, so just for us to go out and do what it is that we have to do. You all know, you all have heard us on this program, Jenny's program, that we talk the thing I've been telling you all for the past few months about the assignment, right? We know what the assignment is, so we need to complete the assignment tomorrow, which is to ensure that the PNM gets a third term. Canada is also having their election tomorrow as well. Thank you so much, Anon. I also would have met a few people who were special voters. They would have voted early, and I met a few of them who indicated to me they've already casted their ballot for me, so that is good, and I thank them so much for that. Anon says Eddie Hart was at the Marshgrass setting, and then some. Yes, it was, and the people were really, really involved. It's not like they just come for a line, and when Dr. Rowley was speaking, there was quiet, no such a horn and all kind of thing, and the people, they were enamored and they were taken in by Dr. Rowley's speech when Stuart Young was speaking as well. So yeah, there was full engagement. And then you had persons at the outside because you had the spillover field to the left of the stage. So aside from that massive crowd that you saw on the inside, behind the tents, in the spillover field, you had a lot of people there, outside as well, around by the food court. The Eddie Hart Grounds food court there, you had a lot of persons there. And then there was the spillover field on the other side of the road where persons parked their cars and so on, closer to the main road. So it was well attended. So as I said, we just have to hope, well, not hope, we expect that all those persons will do what they need to do tomorrow, right? So meanwhile, on another front, let me see here. Let me get this here. So I see John Jeremy made another appearance on the UNC platform. Well, no, before we go there. So Anita Haynes made a surprise appearance at the PNM's rally yesterday. Long overdue, a lot of persons said. So, and it amazes me, right, that the media was making this big thing about John Jeremy appearing on the UNC platform a few days ago, or a couple of weeks ago, as if that was some big thing. Kamala went to the back of the political cemetery. Right, the back of the political cemetery. She probably needed a golf cart to reach in the back there to go and resurrect and to dig up this fossil that is John Jeremy. Same place, 2 lots down from where she dig up Swarat Singh. Not to the front of the cemetery where you have more recent cadavers. She went down to the back to get fossil where you could find dinosaurs. That's where she went, and the media made a big thing about that. But here it is that you have warm bodies like Dinesh Rambali, who spoke on the platform yesterday, and you had Anita Haynes, and they're still trying to promote John Jeremy as if John Jeremy is a has-been, right? What was the big thing about him? That was supposed to have some kind of impact, but we welcome, and notice the difference. We welcomed Anita Haynes. Well, the UNC cussing, she going and coming, cussing Rambali, going and coming. Yeah, kind of nasty comments that I have seen on social media coming from UNC supporters against these two persons. Wow. It's how quickly they, anyway. Just like when Larry Lala came across and in the comments, they were referring to him as Tar Baby because he's of dark skin. Right? That's how they treated them. So if they could call Larry Lala Tar Baby, Larry Lala was with them for years. And that is a whole UNC counselor shamelessly would come on Facebook and refer to Mr. Lala as a tar baby, right? A counselor, no less. The same counselor who stands accused of trying to groom the 15-year-old boy. Right? Sending the boy naked photos and videos with him in the nude and so on, and telling the boy, you see, look at how I'm ready for you, and all kind of nasty talk. But that is the kind of people that the UNC supporters tend to endorse, nasty people like that. And this disgraceful wretch would refer to Mr. Lala as a tar baby. I mean, and they accuse the PNM of racism, right? But then they come into my inbox, with all of their racist talk, to ask me what kind of shoe polish I rub on my face and all kind of thing, and face so black and all kind of. Like I have them to take on with their racism. We're accustomed to that. I went through that. You all feel you're doing me something when you're doing those things. I don't even respond in any hostile way. I just tell them thank you, and that's it. But that is the depths to which they would stoop. They're not even gonna come on the live itself. They're coming into my inbox and messenger to send me these nasty racist comments and all of that. Pathetic. But anyway. So Mr. Jeremy says this is a failing state. Jeremy blasts 10-year crime crisis at UNC rally. I wonder how many criminals John Jeremy has represented in the last 10 years. If we are really in a crisis state, then he should be a happy guy. Because you've had, as a result of the crime, you've had clients to represent to earn our money, to eat our food. The People's National Movement has presided over a failing state during the past decade where over 5,000 people have been killed and murderers are 90% certain to get away without action, says the former Attorney General. You know, and as somebody who's a former Attorney General, you would expect John Jeremy to have a grasp and understanding of how the criminal justice system works, right? Given that he was a two-term Attorney General. But I recall, and so he's talking here about 90% of the criminals are certain to get away without action. Because what is the crime detection rate is 10%. But I recall between 2010 to 2015, the then Commissioner of Police once held a press conference and he made the point that the police were aiming for a 10% detection rate. And I remember I was on 91.9 at the time, and when I saw that, I spoke about it on the Sunshine Hour, and I said, but wait, so if he's saying they're aiming for a 10% detection rate, it means that if for every 10 murders, you expect to apprehend only one of the offenders. But like Mr. Jeremy's memory is quite short. You don't remember that. Speaking before thousands of people at the UNC final election rally at Arangwe Savannah yesterday, Jeremy urged the nation to vote for change as he expressed his deep confidence in opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar to lead Trinidad and Tobago. His deep confidence in Kamla Persad-Bissessar. We stand this afternoon at an inflection point in the history of this country. An election awaits. That election is our date with destiny, Jeremy declared as he decried the state of national affairs. He opened with a sharp rebuke for what he described as a degradation of public discourse, refusing to mirror the dog whistle politics and dehumanizing rhetoric that he said has characterized the current leadership. To say that I find over 5,000 murders, many of them children, women, babies, and families, over the past 10 years with no prospect of improvement concerning is to miss the point entirely. That is not concerning, it is chaos, and let us face it, that is what you can expect in a failing state. He highlighted the historically low murder detection rates, a mere 8% 2023 to 2024 as evidence that criminals act with near complete impunity. It would have been nice for Mr. Jeremy to tell us what the detection rate was between 2010 to 2015. You know, it amazes me how these people could go and do research as if Trinidad and Tobago only started to exist in the year 2015. Prior to that, there was no such country called Trinidad and Tobago. Or if there was, it was a veritable utopia. Yeah, crime detection rate was real high, boy, between 2010 to 2015, the highest it's ever been in this country's history. Or perhaps we had no crime. Yeah, we had no crime, Mr. Jeremy. When it is that the UNC were hounding you with corruption allegations, where were you? You have so much to say about the PNM. Tell us, what did you do between 2010 to 2025? What contribution did you make to the People's National Movement? What contribution? How did you help to uplift the party? When the party was in opposition from 2010 to 2015, trying to fight its way back into government, what contribution did you make, Mr. Jeremy? Or were you one of the loafers who was just on the sidelines, waiting for others to do the work and then hoping that when the party come back into power that they would give you a call, reach out to you and offer you a position? Or and given the fact that that didn't happen, you probably was stricken with a severe case of didn't get, like so many others, and you decided what, that now you want to support Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I would have liked you to tell us, Mr. Jeremy, what Persad-Bissessar did in the last 10 years to strengthen your confidence in her that she is the answer to Trinidad and Tobago's litany of woes that you all claim. And I keep asking the question, if Trinidad and Tobago is so bad, if the PNM is so horrible, the PNM is so inept, so incompetent, so wicked, so evil, why can't the UNC beat the PNM on its own? They keep saying the PNM is at its weakest. Well, if the PNM is at its weakest, then the UNC, then this election should be a cakewalk for the UNC. They didn't need to form a collision of misfits. They should have been able to beat the PNM to a frazzle on their own, but they couldn't. So they had to go looking for stragglers to put together a pickup side to present to you in the hope that they could replicate 2010. That was the hope. But of course, they couldn't really find too many people with integrity willing to be a part of this, whatever you call that, this unholy alliance. So they had to pick up the worst of the worst, people like Philip Edward Alexander, that counterfeit 1%er, that disgusting piece of filth, rivaled only by Anil Roberts in terms of how nasty their mouths are. That's who they had to pick up. People like Ansel Roger, right? Leading an organization that stands accused of fraud, stands accused of tendering a fraudulent document that was purportedly supposed to be a legitimate wire transfer receipt for 1.5 billion US in their efforts and attempts to procure and secure the refinery. You tendered a fraudulent document, and to date have not been able to give a proper explanation. And every time the media approaches you on it, what you're saying, you're trying to dismiss it. And you are ably assisted by wrongdoers like the likes of Rudal Munilal, who jump in the fray to talk the same nonsense. And he couldn't care less about the authenticity of the documents. He wants to know how Stuart Young find out that information, how TPHL get that information when it's supposed to be Scotiabank was doing the assessment and all of these different things. That is his big concern. Not the fact that it may very well be a case of, and we have no reason to believe otherwise, a case of fraud. But yet still, we want to know what the police doing about that, but we ain't nothing. Not surprised. Mr. Jeremy goes on. So let me get this here. Right. Let me get this. Lavish back pay versus 4%. Jeremy also criticized government's priorities, pointing to the disparity between lavish back pay and salary increases for government members, while ordinary citizens are told to accept a mere 4%. This is what you expect of a failing state, he said, again repeating the phrase throughout his speech. The former AG sent a message that the failure to control crime and protect citizens is not just a statistic, it's a betrayal of the social contract. To live each day under the fear of death by violence is beyond concerning. Let us face that too. It is what you expect if you're living in a failing state. So crime is the only metric that you use to assess whether or not a state is failing, Mr. Jeremy. That's the only metric. We're not looking at the economic side. We're not looking at the development of the country from an infrastructure standpoint. We're not looking at the macroeconomic indices and so on. No. All we're looking at crime, and crime alone is the only determinant and the only factor that we use to determine a failing state. And you have these so-called men and women of letters using such terminology as a failing state or a failed state lavishly, right? And you're talking to an audience of thousands of persons and talking this foolishness, this rubbish, as if, anyway. In December 2014, months before the PNM took office under Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar and two distinguished finance ministers, we enjoyed our highest ever foreign exchange reserves, US $11.5 billion. That's a fact. Central bank records say so. Today, he said those reserves have plunged to just 5.27 billion, while 5 separate recessions have occurred since 2015. Clear signs, he argued, of economic mismanagement and drift. But under the People's Partnership, under the leadership of the same Kamla Persad-Bissessar, 4 consecutive quarters of negative growth. 4 consecutive quarters of negative growth. No declaration of a recession. Only when they lost office in September of 2015 did their hand-selected central bank governor then announced to the population, after 4 consecutive quarters of negative growth, we can say Trinidad and Tobago is now in a recession. When the textbook definition is 2 consecutive quarters, but he needed an extra 2 and a loss of a general election for him to suddenly wake up one morning and realize, but wait now, we're in a recession. No talk about that from John Jeremy, no criticism. You're quoting central bank. The same central bank whose figures you're saying, statistics and records told us that the UNC, under the UNC, we had 11.5 billion US dollars in foreign reserves. It's the same central bank records that would have shown you that we were in a recession, that in the last year of their term in office, the last year and a half of their term in office, we were in a recession. But he didn't see that. He didn't see that. No, he didn't. He didn't see on the same central bank records that the majority of that 11.5 billion US dollars in foreign reserves happened under the Manning administration, of which he was a member, of which he was a part. Because Kamla Persad-Bissessar only added about 900 million US to that 11.5 billion US dollars. Only about 900 million. The majority happened under Mr. Manning and the PNM administration. But apparently Mr. Jeremy ain't too good in maths. He's an excellent lawyer, supposedly. But when it comes to mathematics, when it comes to statistics, when it comes to economics, that is not his strong suit. And apparently research isn't his strong suit either. He said, I thought I had left the political space for good until I woke up to the realization that no one was even trying to fix it. Those in government seem bent on shouting and insulting the population into accepting things as they are. He praised Persad-Bissessar's leadership style and discipline, particularly in holding ministers accountable during her tenure. Holding ministers accountable. Is kindergarten students she had running the government that she needed to hold them accountable? Mr. Jeremy? You see, Keith Rowley didn't have that problem because his ministers knew how to hold themselves accountable. They didn't need a big stick. They didn't need a prime minister with a big stick or a leather belt over them to keep them in check. They knew why they came into office. They knew what was expected of them. Dr. Rowley only had to read the riot act to them once when they came into office to let them know. Anytime you find yourself in a wrong stand-up, you're on your own. Do not look to me to defend you or to assist you. And it only took one reading of the riot act. Right? And that is why in 10 years, Mr. Jeremy, the number of ministers who would have been fired are far less than the number that were fired in 5 years under Kamla Persad-Bissessar. That speaks to her leadership. Not just to her leadership, but poor judgment when it comes to selecting people to serve in government. That is what it says. So that is the comparative that I get. And I am no attorney. I am not any senior counsel. But when I look at 5 years, the largest cabinet in this country's history, and over 20-something ministers being fired, practically every month you had a cabinet reshuffle, showing the level of incompetence that existed in that cabinet. That no matter how much she shuffled the deck of cards, she just couldn't get it right. No matter how many times she changed out the pack of cards and bring in new jokers, she couldn't get it right. Almost from day one. And that is why she holds the record for the most amount of ministers fired by any prime minister in this country's history. Right? So what is important is the ability to select a team of persons who know how to conduct themselves, who understand what public service means, who understand what being in cabinet means, and what is required of you. So for the last 10 years, we've not had a single minister accused of being a bag of money minister. We have not had any minister accused of soliciting kickbacks, which was the norm between 2010 to 2015. We didn't see any pictures of any minister walking out from any townhouse complex with a bag, a brown bag under his armpit. And pictures taken, and when it was brought to his attention, he said, well, you know, we had a little lunch and I decided to take some of the food with me. The food tasted so great, I decided to take some with me. So what all I saw wasn't a bag of money, a brown bag of money. No, that was just some extra food that I took because it tasted so good. I had to take up some and take it home for seconds or thirds. That is the kind of nonsense. No minister in this administration has been accused of using the office to force any constituent or any citizen of Trinidad and Tobago to engage in any type of sexual misconduct in exchange for an HTC house, which they didn't get. Because last I checked, that is not a requirement on the HGC's list of requirements to get a house. There is no checkbox that says sleep with the minister. There's no checkbox that says perform a sexual act on the minister. But under them, right? We've not had any legitimate allegations of any kind of, well, all right, let me not go there. But needless to say, right? Dr. Rowley didn't have to pay anybody millions of dollars to become a minister. Just put that out there too. But I continue. I'll just go through a little bit more of this hypocrite. So let me get this here. She was vigilant in her previous term to correct and discipline her ministers. That type of leadership is sorely needed today. I want to ask Mr. Jeremy, you served in a cabinet. How many did Mr. Manning ever have to crack a whip? Did Mr. Manning ever have to discipline his ministers? She was vigilant in her previous term to correct and discipline her ministers. Really vigilant to correct and discipline. Why do you have to discipline big men and women, John Jeremy? Did Mr. Manning ever have to discipline you? And if no, why not? Is it because you understood your job, you understood your role and function, and you carried it out to the best of your ability? Without Mr. Manning having to call you in his office to pull you up because your name get called up and thing? Dr. Rowley has not had to do that. And any minister who found themselves in wrong span up, the likes of Marlene McDonald, and her issue started in a previous administration under Mr. Manning. We had the issue with Darrell Smith, right? And Mr. Darrell Smith would have been removed. Once his term as an elected representative came to an end, he was removed. And I draw again to your attention that when Mr. Smith was first came before the screening committee alongside others, he was rejected. Let us not forget that, notwithstanding the fact that at the time, he was the chairman of the Martin Regional Corporation. When he first presented himself for screening, he was rejected. And the constituency executive was given the instruction, the mandate to go back out and find another candidate. And they came back with Mr. Smith. And that is how he was chosen. So that the leadership of the party did in fact have their doubts at first with respect to Mr. Smith. So just putting that out there, Mr. Jeremy. Okay? His selection came about because of the insistence of the constituency executive. Unlike Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who would have screened persons who had big question marks over their heads, and yet still gave them the nod to contest seats. And the only reason why those persons are not part of the lineup now is because it is a desperate attempt on the part of the UNC to get into office this time. Because they know if they fail this time, that's it. They are afraid of what a Stuart Young government can and would do. That is what they are afraid of. They are afraid that if Stuart Young is able to navigate the choppy waters as it pertains to Trinidad and Tobago's energy sector, in particular, cross-border gas with Venezuela, that would be the end of their hopes. Because that alone has the potential to significantly revive Trinidad and Tobago's economic circumstance. That Stuart Young can accomplish something that they cannot. They cannot. And we hear Stuart Young telling us night after night that he intends to fight for Trinidad and Tobago, and he has been doing that. That is why he can catch the attention of the US Secretary of State, perhaps the top diplomat in the world, who on a flight from Paris thought it necessary to call Stuart Young to have a discussion about Trinidad and Tobago's energy security and to explore options to bring about that energy security without compromising US sanctions on Venezuela. Okay? And he pointed to Stuart Young's leadership in that area, not Kamla Persad-Bissessar's. I continue. Ah, boy. Tell you these people, you'd never think this man was once in the PNM. I knew there was a reason why I wasn't too keen on him, but anyway. Jeremy called Persad-Bissessar a woman who has endured the most disgraceful forms of verbal abuse and yet continues to lead with dignity and strength. That, he said, is grace. He urged voters to reject fear reject silence, embrace change, and vote for the UNC. So I guess we know where he voted. But coming back, he said she's a woman who has endured the most disgraceful forms of verbal abuse. And she referenced that. She said she was called a jamet, she was called a drunk, none of which she is, and something else she was called. But she was able to withstand that. Trying to draw sympathy. But I wonder if John Jeremy, what would be his description of Dr. Rowley, who was called Oreo, blank man, a lazy son of a twice, which is why Radio Jagrati part and TV Jagrati parted ways with the UNC after they would have received letters from the Telecommunications Authority for this individual, the former member of parliament for Princestown, now candidate for Couva North, Couva South, yes, who would have referred to Dr. Rowley on more than one occasion as a lazy son of a bee. Right? So that's just some of the names that they called Dr. Rowley. They called him, Kamala called him a donkey fool. They called him a rapist. They called him a pedophile. All of that. But apparently, John Jeremy forgets about that. But that is, as he says, that is what you call grace and poise. She took it on the chin. With a stiff upper lip, she trod it on. But when Dr. Rowley had to endure Vanilla Allen Toppin, with the endorsement of Kamala Persad-Bissessar and Rudal Munilal, come into the parliament and accuse not only Dr. Rowley, but his father as well as being a rapist. That he was a product of rape and all of that. Accusing the man's son of being a bastard, despite the fact that the boy and his mother had to come out of the shadows to do a video, right, to support Dr. Rowley and to say this is not so. So they want to tell the woman that she was raped, that Dr. Rowley raped her, that he was a pedophile. But apparently John Jeremy forget all of that has happened, some of which has come from the mouth of Kamala Persad-Bissessar. That when Anil Roberts takes to his platform and says the nastiest of things about Dr. Rowley, Sharon Rowley, who they claim had an affair, cheated on Dr. Rowley with a special branch officer, and Kamala Persad-Bissessar endorsed that nonsense, coming in on a platform and making jokes. I find like these days Rowley have an issue with branch and special branch. I don't know, what is that about? What is that issue? And Anil, no regard for Sharon Rowley, who has been nothing but the epitome of grace, having to endure not just all of that ridicule and lies that were hurled against her, and their efforts to tarnish the reputation of this woman, who has been nothing but upstanding. Right? She's not one for the limelight, but she has been there supporting her husband through it all. She, more than anybody else, knows what he would have gone through, having to endure that, knowing that he was trying his best, what he thought was best for Trinidad and Tobago, to manage the ship in the face of declining energy revenues, in the face of COVID and all of these different things that he steered us through, and then having to come home and she going on social media and seeing these nasty things being said about her husband. When she sat down with him in the quiet of the evening and they talking, and she probably wants to know, that's why she didn't want him to do a second term as prime minister. She just wanted to go and retire and allow him to enjoy what life he has left, because she knows what he goes through. We don't know, but she does. And yet still, these nasty, dirty people accuse the woman of having an affair, an extra man cheating on Dr. Rowley and all kind of stupidness, and making fun about her and what she was. They went and dig up a picture of an Indian policeman, a policeman from India, and saying that is the officer that the woman was with. How the hell she could do that, I don't know, because her security detail is not one person. It's two vehicles. Anybody who ever saw Sharon Rowley in Westmall would notice two vehicles. So they have the lead vehicle and the one that she was in. And it's multiple officers. So when did she find time to skulk away and go and have extramarital affairs with this special branch officer? When did she do that? She went where? In the bathroom in the mall? She tell him, come with me? Or when Dr. Rowley was at work, special branch officer, she said she going home early? This is the kind of stupidness. And the fully dunce supporters of that party endorse that. and added to it. Not once did Kamala Persad-Bissessar ever come to Sharon Rowley's defense. Not once. And she could have. Because when this matter happened with Laurel Lazama Leasing and her husband, and the thing about where the husband claimed domestic violence and so on, David Naked did a live in which he claimed that Kamala, when the story first broke, Persad-Bissessar was demanding that Dr. Rowley speak on that matter and whatnot and tell the population about what's going on and whatnot. And then when the other side of the story came out and they found out that it was an ex parte matter and so on, then according to David Naked, and I think Julian John as well might have mentioned, that Kamala told them, hey, back off, leave that alone. All right? Now that she has heard the other side and whatnot and so on, leave that alone. Don't go after Laurel Lazama Leasing, because this is something where the husband could be vindictive or spiteful, as the case may be. And she told them to leave it, and that is why it didn't blossom into something else. But she, knowing the type of woman that Sharon Rowley is, why didn't she intervene and tell them, hey, kill that? Kill that. Because in the same way, she don't want nobody to be talking about her husband. Because we know that there were claims in the public space with respect to certain activities that he used to conduct while he was in practice as a doctor. Right? Certain things that she should stand against, given the fact that she's a strong supporter of Donald Trump. Yeah, some of you all know what I'm talking about. Yeah? How many babies are no longer with us? How many young children should have been in school today? And the allegation is that thanks to him, they are not. She should have said, kill that. Rowley is our opponent. We have no issue with Sharon Rowley. See that part of it? Leave it out. But she, being the liar that she is, the inveterate liar that she is, had no problems claiming that the government spent $3 million to purchase paintings from Dr. Rowley's daughter. To bring the man's daughter into it. To stand up on a platform and lie and say that the government spent $3 million to purchase paintings from Dr. Rowley's daughter, which never happened. The only paintings the government purchased were some Casablanca paintings that were on sale, on auction in the United States. And given the fact that these were paintings that were done by a noted Trinidadian artist, long dead, the government saw an opportunity to bring these paintings back home so that it could reside with the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, rather than original works from one of our most renowned artists would be elsewhere in the world for others to enjoy. There were 10 paintings available for sale, valuing just a little over $3 million. The government was not able to get all 10. I think they were able to purchase 8 or 7 of the paintings, which total $1.9 million. Not $3 million as they have been saying and lying. And even though you point out the truth to them and you give them the article speaking to that, that ain't stopping the fully done from continuing to go out there and lie and say that the government spent $3 million to purchase paintings. And your dishonest leader who wants to be prime minister have no problem lying to the population and saying that Dr. Rowley take taxpayers' money to buy paintings from his daughter. Never happened. But when it is you hear people talking that she have a son who's a baby, you ain't like that. She has done everything possible to keep her son out of the limelight, to keep her grandson out of the limelight. The last time you would have seen her nor hear of him was when she used your taxpayers' dollars to charter a whole jumbo jet, to take her grandson dressed in a Spider-Man costume to Brazil to view the World Cup. So plenty of all you who paying income tax still. Your taxpayers' dollars. Well, when she was prime minister, your personal allowance was $60,000. So you were paying a hell of a lot more income tax than you're paying today. And your taxpayers' dollars, hard, but you work hard for. In some cases, overtime, long hours. And when you look at your pay slips, you're stupid when you see the amount of that overtime pay that gone into tax for the taxman. You're vexed. She had no problem using your tax dollars to take a whole Caribbean Airlines jumbo jet that should have been earning income for you, the taxpayer, to take your taxpayers' dollars, to take this jet out of service so that she could joyride because she can't travel commercial like Keith Rowley has done. All over for the last so much years, they only yapping about, oh, Rowley always traveling, he always out of the country, and how much money taxpayers' money spent. And he spent $10 million to travel in the last 10 years or whatever as the case may be. But how much did she spend? Keith Rowley has never chartered a jumbo jet. Never. Every time he fly in commercial, he sit down on a plane with everybody else, probably sit down in business class. But he sit down on the same plane with everybody else. He don't need a whole plane for himself. She went to Nelson Mandela funeral. Take your taxpayer dollars. Again, first time she did it to charter the jumbo jet. And then decided to play Miss, what's the term I want to use, boy? You know, that the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and the taxpayers, we so generous. That your taxpayers' money spent to take this jumbo jet to go to Nelson Mandela's funeral, and she decided to reach out to all the other CARICOM leaders to get them a drop. You know, we go in Nelson Mandela funeral, you know. All they want to come? We have a whole plane. It could hold about 156 people. So we have room. We'll come and pick all you up. Nah, I don't have to cost all nothing, man. We don't pay for that already. Yeah, these gullible citizens in Trinidad and Tobago, yeah, that's okay. They will pay for that. So what left? All right, no problem. So here we are. Instead of we had a hop to every island, if a couple of you all could meet in Barbados, so we would pick up, and then we will pick up the next batch in Guyana, yeah, and we will just make our way down to South Africa. How will you feel about that? Yeah, no problem. Nah, don't worry, we taking care of everything, man. You don't worry yourself. That's on me. I got you. I'm the boss. I could spend taxpayers' money as I please. And the only thing you'll have to do, when you come on the plane, I sitting up in front, and all you just had to come one by one and sit down next to me, and we run a video, and you all could sing my praises and tell me how grateful you are that you got that I did this for you. I'm trying to find the video. It was narrated by Hans Hanuman Singh. Not Hans. It's Hans? No, Gideon Hanuman Singh. On one of the many trips. And then she went to India, the famous $15 million India trip. So she go and she carry a whole entourage with her. What we get from that trip? She going to discover her roots, her Indian roots, to find where her ancestors came from. And she could go down and kiss the feet of the Indian president at your expense. While somebody catching all their tail to make passage for the week to go to work and send your children to school. Your taxpayers' dollars. She joyriding her sister, Virwati. Plain nurse. Your taxpayers' money pay for Virwati to go to India. Some of you, all the closest you'll ever get to India is National Geographic. But her daughter, her sister, yeah. Going to China, jumbo jet. Same thing. Australia, jumbo jet. At least 5 or 6 times. So add the cost of that to the helicopter rides. But someone let in mind. Yeah, you just want to see the spectacle again. You're driving around the savannah. Hey, look, I'm not going on board the helicopter because she's older now. She's more frail. She's allergic to traffic. And if you expect her to do her work and come to Port of Spain every day, she's not going to drive. Because we know she's not an early riser. When they had the crime symposium, the regional crime symposium, a couple years ago in the Hyatt, and she was complaining she had to get up 5 o'clock to reach Hyatt for 9 o'clock. So she don't expect that if she couldn't make with traffic, then she's not going to do it now. So expect more money to be spent on helicopter rides. All right? Because she can't stay in the Prime Minister's residence, as everybody else does. Same Prime Minister's residence, which is a 2-minute drive from the office, from Whitehall. So it's even closer now than it was before. Before it might have taken 3 minutes. Now it's taking 2 minutes. But she ain't want that. No, she want to live in her pink palace. That was built courtesy who? At your taxpayers' expense. $6.1 million spent. But her fully done supporters wouldn't come to complain. Oh, you know what? All that money they spend on paintings, that money could have go to buy bed for the hospital, and they could have buy medication in the hospital, and they don't have Divon in the hospital, and they can't even get a Cafanol. All they're too blasted cheap. Too cheap. You can't go in the pharmacy and buy some Cafanol or Panadol or whatever it is. No, everything you must go by the dispensary because the government must give you. You're paying $430-something a year in health surcharge, but want the best of health care. But when you go by the private doctor, even before the doctor see you, $400. Plenty of you who go in St. Augustine Medical. When you go there, every month when I go there to see my client, you see them sit down in the waiting room, man. Waiting. Have money to spend. They griping, they complaining, they saying, Doc, the bill too high. No, they paying the money. But complaining about the hospital. You think the government could say, well, here what? We're going to charge do like St. Lucia or do like Dominica and charge a fee. It was $100 registration fee when you come in. And then, depending on what services you receive, you will then receive a further bill. In Trinidad here, you take it for granted, you bounce your toe. And you find after 2 days it's still hurting, I call in the ambulance. You wouldn't drive to the hospital, I'm call the ambulance, yes? Ambulance come and pick you up and carry you in the hospital. And you're complaining you had to wait 4 or 5 hours before you get a bed. That's your complaint. But in other Caribbean countries, their complaint is, I'm going to the hospital because I ain't no money. I don't nurse this myself until I get paid. Or let me see if I could go and borrow a little something. You don't have that issue here, but Trinidad is the worst. The health system in Trinidad is the worst. I was talking to a guy just a couple days ago on my walkabout. He's a Trinidadian, but he got a job in Guyana. You know what he was telling me? He said, we could do better in Trinidad. You know? He said, but I have lived in several other Caribbean countries, and let me tell you, we have it real good here. Real good. He said, we complain about the health system, we complain about the education system, we complain about this, that. He said, by telling you, as having the experience of living in and working in several other Caribbean islands, Trinidad have it real good. All the complaints. And he doesn't support the People's National Movement. Right? He made it clear. He's not a supporter of the PNM. But he just said, you know, he find they could have done some different things over the last 10 years and whatnot, the issue of crime and the like. But he, who is not a supporter of the PNM, is telling you, we have it good here. But all you're complaining. But you have people like John Jeremy endorsing Prasad Bisesa and telling people to vote for her. Vote for what? For what? So we could go through the trauma and the drama. 5 years of drama. So every day, just like the US citizens, when they wake up every morning, say, well, let me see what the soap opera presents today. So we want 5 years of soap opera. Let me see which minister getting fired today. Are they taking any bets? Which one getting fired today? Anybody? Any takers? What's the odds? Let me put the names in a pot and mix it up and see which one going and get fired today. Or let's see what scandal we're likely to hear today. And how is the Prime Minister going to respond to it? Well, the same way, ask for a report and then come and say, well, I asked the minister for a report and I'm satisfied that there was no wrongdoing. So she asked Andy Roberts for a report into room 201. And he tell her it's PNM voodoo and it was Photoshop. And she come and say, well, right, that's what it is. He says so is so. Let us move on. Let us not forget, that was her catchphrase, 2010 to 2015. Let us move on. All right, this thing in the public space for too long. Let me move on. Next thing. I am advised. I am advised. Never informed, always advised. So if I get the advice wrong, don't blame me. Somebody tell me that. I never tell Ole that was so. I said I was advised. And clearly the advice I got was wrong. But when she was advised by Eleanor Donaldson Honeywell, when she was advised by Stacey Rupnarine, what did she do? What did she do? This government came in $500,000 in alcohol in the Prime Minister residence. $500,000 in alcohol. So what they couldn't thief, what they couldn't carry, what they couldn't tote out, they didn't have enough time, they leave behind. So if this government found almost $500,000 in alcohol, enough to last them for the whole 10 years, so they didn't need to buy liquor for any of the events held at the Prime Minister's residence for the next 10 years because we had enough. How much did thief and went with? And how much did they buy in that 5 years' time? Because we know all of them like the sours. Plenty. $475,000 for a 3-paragraph pre-action protocol letter. All remember that one? Since they love to talk about wastage, $475,000 paid to one attorney to write a 3-paragraph pre-action protocol letter. Your taxpayer money pay for that. But the fully dunce want to come and tell you, oh, how much money they waste on this and they spend money on that. But they had no problem with that. No problem with that. None whatsoever. Renting building. Building in Barataria rented. $53 million in rent paid. Building never used. $9 million in rent paid for a building on Frederick Street. Never used. $5 million for a building on Pembroke Street. Never used. $120 million to outfit. $43 million in rent and $5 million in security for 1 Alexandra Street. Never used while they were in office. Never used. That money couldn't do something better. That money couldn't buy food for the poor and the starving and the suffering. Or maybe because between 2010 to 2015, we had no suffering, starving people in this country. No, everything was good. Everything good. Yeah, everything was perfect. But that's what John Jeremy wants to tell you. That's the person that is best poised to serve Trinidad and Tobago. They have failed to articulate for us any plan, policy as it pertains to the energy sector. None. We see a list passing around, supposedly, allegedly, of a possible preliminary cabinet. You could imagine having to deal with Anil Roberts for another 5 years. Anil Roberts. Bring him through the back door. This disrespectful twat said the worst of things about practically everybody. You could imagine David Naked, who I haven't heard in a while. You could imagine him as a government minister who referred to the former president as an insipid jackass. You could imagine him as a government minister to represent who? Not me. You could imagine Khadija Amin as the minister of local government, Miss Greenverbs. What big work Zambo going and get? She going to put Zambo in charge of what? URP? CPEP? I just asking. Just asking. Because remember, last we heard, the police was looking for him in connection with a murder. So we went from gun possession, for which he already have a charge, and now we understand that he is the subject of interest to the police as a suspect in a murder. Has Ms. Amin distanced herself from this individual who jack her up in a car, allegedly, and slam her head into the door? Give her some cuff in her ribs and all of these things? Can we expect somebody like that to be put in charge of URP? We expect to go down. I just ask him. Rural Murilal, who still has questions to answer about the 800 million in ghost houses, has not addressed that. Jolene John has not addressed that. Maybe they'll put Jolene as Minister of Housing. I don't know. Wouldn't be surprising. Because she's the one who promising 500 houses a week. Now, even the most dotish, even a rock could tell you that is not feasible. That cannot happen. 500 houses in a week. Last time they fooled somebody with 100 houses a week, giving out houses that the PNM built. But understand what is at stake. And I'm speaking here to some of you lackadaisical PNM supporters who talking nonsense, but are disappointed in the PNM. Are disappointed in the PNM because Rowley take a 47% pay raise and I get 4%. You did not get 4%. I've spoken to that on numerous occasions. In fact, yesterday I would have had occasion to speak to Robert Amar, who was also at the PNM's rally. And in our discussions, he was really impressed, right, with that analysis that I gave with respect to the increase in personal allowance and how it constituted a pay raise, not just for public servants, but private sector workers as well. And he felt perhaps I should have spoken more, I've been given the opportunity to speak more on that on the platform. But the campaign is over. So I use my platform that is available to me to speak on that. In fact, I met a lady yesterday who is a public servant. And I was heartened when she said to me, listen, I wasn't going to vote because I was vexed with this 4%. She said, but when I heard Jane Lahoketa talk about the increase in the personal allowance, she said, I stop and I think and I say, but that making sense. I really taking home more salary now than I was in 2013, even though my salary figure is the same because of that increase in personal allowance. She went on to say, in her household, there are 3 persons, herself, her husband, and her daughter, all of whom earn over $7,500 a month. And she was saying, when she did the calculation, that increase in personal allowance now means that is an additional $22,500 a year in additional disposable income that her household has, that they were paying in taxes between herself, her husband, and her daughter. That $7,500 that they were paying in taxes between 2010 to 2015 that they now get to keep. $22,500 more her household has available to them because of that one initiative by this administration. And when she thought about that, and then she went home and she talked about it, well, she spoke to her husband about it as well. He hadn't thought about it either, right? But that is additional monies that they weren't getting that was going to the tax man. And because of that, she has decided to vote. Because of that, and I'm certain that, and she said she spoke to other people about it as well. So I'm sure there are other persons who would have also heard that and would be thinking, okay, all right. For real. She is the only public servant in the house, but the husband and the daughter work in the private sector. But nevertheless, they had the same $7,500 savings. All right? Why vex? I disappointed in the PNM, the PNM this and the PNM that, and me think I'm voting. The UNC couldn't care less. Their supporters couldn't care less. They're coming out to vote. They couldn't care that Kamala abandoned them on election night in 2015, left them high and dry in Rienzi complex and went home. They're still supporting her. Well, some of them anyway, the majority of them. She could do what they want, what she wants. Call them what she wants. Right? Couple years, was probably last year or somewhere, about the Monday night forum, when she was saying some other dotish. The PNM telling all this and that, and some of them only coming and saying, leader, what about this one? And leader, what about that one? And they buying into the lies and the propaganda of the PNM. Some all really dotish, not me, but some all there. She called them dotish. And they laugh. Come like something else, boy. But they still come in and vote for her. But the doctor, I clipped that doctor, Rowley said, and Rowley said the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago are stupid. When he said the opposition thinks that the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago are stupid, but all your leader call all your dotish. So some all your dotish who buying into so-called PNM propaganda. And all they take that. Right? And they still support it. But PNM, me ain't think I voted na vex. I so disappointed in the PNM. Well, I need to do better. I work with Tolia and I do this and I campaign with this one and I campaign with that one. And what I get, I ain't get nothing. And I have my son, I have my daughter, and I work for them. And you know how long and because of that, you're not voting. So you figure what, the UNC going to give you something? If you say you vote for the PNM and you ain't get nothing. If you don't vote and the UNC gets into power, you still ain't going to get nothing. So you might as well use your vote for something. At least you're going to have a responsible government in office. But you had to love drama to be talking that nonsense about, I disappointed with the PNM. And me ain't voting. And it have 5 away living in this house and I think none of we voted. And you're proud to say that. Proud to say that. And then this next thing that PNM people like to talk, the PNM done win already. There's a PNM safe seat. If everybody who support PNM in that constituency were to think the same way, ain't no way they winning. The UNC supporters in a so-called PNM stronghold, you feel they say, PNM, the UNC can't win here, so me ain't going and vote. They're still going and vote. They're still going to vote. They're holding on to the hope that, hey, maybe something will happen. Maybe the PNM supporters will be lackadaisical and telling themselves, yeah, the PNM done win already, man. I ain't had to go and vote. Really? How many of you all in Lengua Indian Walk in 2023? 2023, right? Lengua Indian Walk, that district that was tied and almost went to the UNC, but for one ballot that they couldn't saddle on. They couldn't come to, that contentious ballot, and the decision was taken to have a by-election that the PNM won by over 600 extra votes. Where were those 600 people on the 14th of August 2023? Where were they? 600 more than they got on that date. On the by-election, you get over 600 more votes. So 600 of these people decided they're not going and vote on August 14th. PNM can't win that. Now there's a UNC stronghold. The PNM only had that once. Can't win. And then when you realized, but for the sake, 2 votes could have avoided the necessity for a by-election. But anyways, a good thing the by-election happened. And the UNC got a good shellacking. They lost 23 votes in the by-election and the PNM gained over 600. But it just goes to show 600 of them who support the PNM had something better to do on that day. Or just told us, me going and vote. The margin of victory for Terrence Dayal Singh, 2020, was just over 800 votes. Just remember that. And since we know that in a local election, you had 600 of them who decided not to cast the ballot for whatever reason. Now, St. Joseph, which is a critical seat that we must win. You have Terrence, you have Gary, you have the Patriotic Front, whoever is their representative, and then you have Devish Maharaj of the UNC and whoever else. Okay? So it's a much tougher fight now. Whereas in 2020, it was just between basically those two, UNC and PNM. Now you have two other entities that have the capacity to draw votes. Whose votes are they going to pull? Whose? And with such a small margin of just over 800 votes, could make a difference. All it takes is one seat to make a difference. All right? So those of you who sit down in St. Joseph and me, I feel like vote, and I disappointed with the PNM, and just remember, and everybody in your house, where you might be the one who normally encourages everybody, well, get up, we go in and vote. But you disappointed. We're disappointed with 4%. And Rowley take 47%. Rowley didn't take no 47%. We've discussed that before. It was a 27% pay raise. Kamla Persad-Bissessar got a 76% pay raise. Last I checked, 76 is more than 47. But you may vex with Kamla. I say, well, Kamla didn't give herself the pay raise. The Salaries Review Commission did their work. They get paid to do that. So if it is every time they recommend an increase for those officers, public officers who fall under them, and the population find now is not a good time, so then why are we paying the Salaries Review Commission? Paying them a salary just to generate a report, and every time the report come out, nah, reject it. Well, it's better we get rid of the Salaries Review Commission. Because what are we paying them for? When they do their work and they make a recommendation, we vex. So unless it is that you get an interest pay raise at a particular interest rate, that these same public officers who fall under the Salaries Review Commission, the last time they got a pay raise was in 2011. So while people complaining, last time I got a pay raise was in 2013, they got a pay raise last time in 2011. Okay? And this most recent pay raise that they got was for the period 2020 to, I think, 2024. They got no pay raises from 2011 to 2019. For that period there was wage freeze. So there was no back pay for that period, no pay increase for that period. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That is what they got. For that whole period from 2011 to 2020, nothing. So their pay raise that they got was from October of 2020 come forward. And it may very well be another 10, 15 years before they get another pay raise. Right? May very well be. And while the UNC could hoodwink you and say, oh, Rowley and them, they get pay raises too. What did they do with it? What did they do with it? Did they tell the parliament to send all of the pay increase to the Children's Lives Fund that Kamala likes to boast about? Did they do that? No, they didn't do that. They take it. Did Kamala refuse the back pay that she got? Did she say, nah, I don't want this, and write out a check for the full back pay and go down to the Salvation Army and say, look, I don't want this, hold that. And I will set up a standing order that every month the percentage or the value of the pay raise will come to you. Did she do that? Did she go to some charity and say, hey, look, the back pay? Or did she deposit it in her bank account? Which one did she do? I see she costing taxpayers. She's not even prime minister, but costing taxpayers a set of money when it comes to vehicles. The second accident that she has been in the space of about a month. I told you all the other day when she was coming up to go to I think a meeting either in Sangre Grande or in Talparo or something. So the vehicle that she was in, broadside, my friend, sent his vehicle spinning by Mausica lights there. He on his way home to his wife and newborn son. Spin the man vehicle gone spinning. And it's a good thing he was able to catch himself, mash the brakes and so on, and that he's still in the land that he lives in. And she just came out of the vehicle and gave him a Princess Margaret, as he said, and jump in the vehicle that was in front, the escort vehicle, and they took off and they left the other vehicle behind to deal with him. He's still trying to sort out to get his vehicle fixed. Now we hear a couple of days ago she went to some meeting in South or wherever it is and telling the audience that her husband isn't with her because they were in another accident last week when they went to Grandy, and some vehicle she claims ran into her vehicle on his side and he get whiplash. But you so meeting hungry that you claim a vehicle ran into your vehicle broadside you. Your husband get whiplash and so on, but you still went to meeting. That's how you couldn't care less about your husband. 2 accidents so far. So that is 2 vehicles, 2 state vehicles now that park up somewhere. Had a fix, and they had to get another vehicle to transport her. Because she don't know how to go to a meeting on time. She don't know about early. So you don't need to be speeding. That's the same nonsense. So I don't buy this nonsense about somebody ran into you. If that happened, it's probably because you tried to break the light. As the same thing that you did in Mausika. And in doing so, you get hit. But costing taxpayers money. And that's okay. She's lucky she's still here. But how much damage has that caused to her? She already frail. I saw that video from yesterday with her walking on stage and again, human crutch. Walking, dragging. But she wants to be Prime Minister again. Let me get this here. I think I finished with Mr. Jeremy for the time being. Get this, huh? Hi. Just where is it? All right. Give me one section now to let me get this thing here. So I see Ravi Balgobin Maraj has finally decided to leave the UNC. For those of you who don't know who Ravi Balgobin Maraj is, he is the UNC proxy. The lackey that they use every time they need to file a case against the state, they use him. Right? So I see that he submitted a letter of resignation. I'm also seeing here mass resignations by the youth from the youth arm or the youth league. Youths are fed up with the direction that the party is heading. And I'm seeing here resignation from the UNC youth members from the constituency of Aruka, Lopino, Port of Spain, North St. Anne's West, San Fernando East, Cuba South, Trin-City, Maloney, Maruga, Tableland, La Brea, St. Augustine, Laventil West, Shogunas West, Shogunas East, Naparima, Point Fortin, Cedras, Port of Spain South, St. Anne's East, San Fernando West, Tunapuna. Says the decision was not made lightly over the past months and years. We have reflected deeply on the direction, values, and leadership of the party. Unfortunately, we no longer feel that our aspirations, voices, and ideals as young citizens are aligned with the current trajectory of the UNC. As young people committed to national development and meaningful political engagement, we have chosen to align ourselves with the People's National Movement, whose vision and approach we now believe others can provide opportunities for us to contribute meaningfully to the future of Trinidad and Tobago, respectively, respectfully, sorry, right, Sushen, whoever, right. So it seems a mass exodus of young people from the United National Congress. And certainly I could tell you the Youth League in my constituency, a very vibrant group. They don't play. They were very instrumental in our motorcade yesterday. In fact, they had their own youth rally weekend before, the Saturday. Well put together, well organized. and so on. And they have indicated to me that they want to play a role in the development of the constituency. And I have given them a commitment that I will work with them so to do. All right, because they have some really, really good ideas on how we could engage the young people. And so one of the things that we've been doing as we go about the constituency and we encounter households where you have young persons who meet the age criteria for the youth group or the youth league, we ask the parents, so would you like your son or your daughter to become involved? They say yes. We take their information, pass it on to the youth league so that they can contact them and grow the movement. All right, secure the future voters, but not only that, to come up with ideas, to brainstorm and come up with ideas that they could present that we can implement to treat with youth issues in the constituency, which is a big point. Just let me get it here. Where is it? Where is Mr. Balko bin Maraj? Right. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Ravi Balko bin Maraj, right? So his email that he sends, will the UNC win the general election? As a question. Over the past weeks, I have been asked time and again about the coming election and my own silence in the public square. Let me speak plainly. These questions deserve honesty, but the answers may not be easy. They require us to confront hard truths, not just about politics, but about who we are and what we value and the kind of leadership we demand in times of trial. Now, let's be clear, elections are more than contests of power. They are reflections of our collective conscience. When a party loses its way, when it trades humility for hubris, service for spite, and unity for division, it isn't just a failure of strategy. It's a departure from the very ideals that once made it a vessel for the people's hope. Let me take you back to 2013. After a stinging defeat in Shogunas West, a leader stood before a crowd and declared that voters needed to have the opportunity to regret their decision. Think about that. Instead of listening, instead of self-reflection, the response was to punish the very people they sought to lead. Yes, they reclaimed. Let me get this here. Yes, they reclaimed the seat in 2015, but lost the nation. And even worse is that the lesson, that kind of thing, something about politics as a zero-sum game where communities are pawns, not partners. Then you might win a battle, but you always lose the war. Now, some will say that the current government is more unpopular than ever before, but in 2020, when 56,000 citizens withdrew their support from the ruling party, the opposition still fell short. Why? Because democracy isn't just about rejecting the worst, it's about aspiring to something better. When families lie on hospital benches, when parents can't feed their children, they're not looking for a default. They're searching for conviction, for empathy, for leaders who see their struggles not as talking points, but as a call to action. Let me tell you where the UNC once stood. It was a party rooted in service, a movement that saw power not as a trophy, but as a tool to lift up the marginalized. But somewhere along the way, that light dimmed. The humility that once defined it turned to bitterness. The hunger to serve became a thirst for scorn, and when contempt takes the place of compassion, when division drowns out dignity, trust erodes. And once trust is lost, so too is the mandate to lead. So here's where I stand. For the first time in my life, I cannot in good conscience lend my vote to this party, which is the UNC. Not out of malice, but out of fidelity to the principles we once shared. This isn't about personalities, it is about the peril of clinging to a path that has strayed so far from its purpose. And let me say this, change does not come from doubling down on defeat. It comes from looking in the mirror and asking, what can we do better? To those who still fight within the UNC, this is not an epitaph. It's an invitation to rediscover the heart of your mission. Listen to the whispers of the struggling, not just the cheers of the loyal. Marginal seats aren't math problems, they're families, dreams, and voices waiting to be heard. Power is not defined by choices we reject, but by the future we demand. So let's demand better. Let's remember that leadership is not a title, it is a covenant. A promise to lead not with arrogance, but with audacious hope. In the end, that's what this moment calls for, hope. Not blind optimism, but the stubborn belief that we can course correct, that we can heal, that we can rebuild. Because in the story of our nation, the next chapter is always ours to write. Best regards, Ravi Balko bin Maraj. Now it's interesting, Ravi Balko bin Maraj, as I said before, was a UNC lackey. Many times when it is they went to the Privy Council to get the witness statements that they claimed would have proven that the decision by this administration to withdraw the case against Malcolm Jones, that it would have proven that it was political. It was Ravi Balgobin Mirage that they used. In fact, there are many other cases for which Anand Ram Logan would have used Mr. Balgobin Mirage. Prasad Bisesa herself would have referenced Mr. Balgobin or singled out Mr. Balgobin Mirage for praise and commendation on at least a couple of occasions at the Monday Night Forum when he was sitting in front. Right in front, just a couple chairs down from her. So he has been in the belly of the beast for the longest while. And he has now come out to say that he cannot in good conscience vote for the UNC. He can't vote for the UNC. He who has been there in the trenches with them for the last 10 years and some. So he knows what they give. He knows what they give. But you have John Jeremy, who has not been there, has not been in the belly of the beast. All right? Because he was PNM and then he became whatever. He now coming to tell you, vote for the UNC. But somebody who was there telling you don't vote for the UNC. So he has more knowledge about the UNC and the inner workings and the goings on inside there than John Jeremy. But he coming to endorse Kamala to tell you vote for her. So listen to he, but don't listen to the man who was there. You heard Dinesh Rambali last night talk about the UNC, why he left, and endorsed the PNM. Told you to vote for the PNM. Chanted that refrain, great is the PNM, 3 times. He who was there telling you, you see what exists now as UNC? Forget that. Don't even waste your vote on that. He telling you that. But John Jeremy wants to come and tell you, who has no idea, no clue what goes on in the UNC, and just come, as I said, that they dig up from the back of the political cemetery. He wants to come and tell you, vote for Kamala, and to endorse her leadership and sing her praises. That making any sense? That matse. That logic, not logic. You have Anita Haynes who left, Larry Lala, all these people left. Robert Amar, who I told you was at the PNM's rally last night. I used to listen on my way to the office sometimes, not so long ago. Robert Amar on his radio station 104 had a program with a young lady named Ruby, or Ruby D, or whatever is call her. And every morning they only bashing the PNM, bashing Gid Rowley, bashing the PNM. This girl said the worst of things about Dr. Rowley, call him a dirty old dog. And if you hear things she say about Dr. Rowley, she and Mr. Amar, today, Robert Amar, who was a life member of the UNC, has left, sending his resignation as a life member and is now in the PNM. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? All these people who were there, but some only need a 2x4 across your back. And still, that's not enough. Because you disappointed with the PNM. And you ain't voting. And you're going to tell this one and that one don't vote. If you don't want to vote, that's your business. You withdraw your vote, but stop encouraging people in your foolishness and your slackness. And then you have some young people talking about, I don't see the point in voting. What's the sense in voting? It don't make a difference. But I can tell you, I have a lot of young people in my constituency anxious to vote. Anxious to vote. Just a couple days ago, I bounced up here, and if you go on our Facebook page, you will see me taking pictures with some little ones, looking like they could be about 5, between age 5 to 8 or whatever. And if you hear them, the UNC not winning, we don't like Kamala, we don't like the UNC, PNM going and win. These young people understand it. So when I say, you're ready to vote? Yes. But you have big 20-something-year-olds talking stupidness, but me voting, what's the point? They're making no sense. I'm not interested in that. I don't really follow politics. But you have these young children. They don't have the intellectual capacity to grasp as you do. But they don't know already. At 5 years old and 6 years old, where they should put their eggs. They have more sense. 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds have more sense than some of you 20-something and 30-something-year-olds talking that crap about you in voting. Well, they're not serious. I have a cousin talking about he ain't voted. Big man, 50-something, probably 51 or 52 or so. He ain't voting. Right? Your cousin is the candidate, but you ain't voting. You can't vote for me. You ain't see the sense in voting and make no. All right, no problem. But When I win, you want to come by me to ask me for this and ask for that. Come to tell me about your girlfriend who live in Oho and she need help. Right? But you can't vote. You don't see the sense in voting. But you want to come and benefit from what other people stay in their fingers for. Well, I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting. You come. You come. We will have a discussion. Right? Absolute rubbish. Could give no proper reason. But that is, yeah, you can see the sense. Well, all right. Well, if you don't see the sense, no problem. But I just telling the PNM people in all 41 constituencies, even if you live in a constituency that you think PNM can't win, still go and cast your ballot for me, please. Still go and cast your ballot. You know, the UNC like to boast about popular vote and they win the popular vote. That's the only consolation that they get. But last general election, they didn't win the popular vote. PNM won 320,000 votes. They got 309,000. So there was nothing for consolation. And let us repeat that. And in the constituencies in which the PNM will win, this nonsense about the PNM done when already and you ain't going and vote and your one vote wouldn't make a difference. Get up early and go and vote for please and stop being ridiculous. Stop being ridiculous. Go to the polls with the mindset there is no safe seat. All right? There is no safe seat. Go and vote as if your life depends on it because your life does depend on it. Because these people are just waiting for the treasury. And let me tell you something, right? They have employed the same strategies and tactics that they used in 2010. On Friday evening, we went to the crossings just off Tumpuna Road. And while we were there, not because it's a gated community, and they gave us the opportunity to come in, surprisingly. After there was original, trepidation, a little bit of hesitancy, because you have UNC people in there too and other political parties, supporters, and they want to politics and everything. They decide, okay, they'll give the PNM and the UNC a chance, come in with your big truck and drive around. So we went in there. And as we were wrapping up, a young lady was now coming from work and she stopped. She said, you're the candidate? I said, yes. She said, listen, I got a call today on my cell phone from UNC in Tunapuna, calling me to ask me who I voting for. So she said, I asked them, where did you all get my number from? Because she said, I don't support the UNC. But she said she's registered to vote in Tunapuna, but she now lives in the crossing. She hasn't changed her registration address. So she wants to know, she asking them, how will I get my number? And they're telling her, well, we did some canvassing and so on, and we would have gotten your number. And she said, the damn lie. They didn't get my number from any canvassing because we are a PNM household and they're not entertaining anybody. The people who live in the house, not entertaining any UNC canvasser. So she said they're on BS, but she is concerned as to how they got her contact number. This is the same question that was asked in 2015, was it? Or 2010 with Cambridge Analytica, when they were sending out emails to people, sending out letters, sending out text messages and stuff to people's phones. And the question was being asked, how did they do that? Where were they getting? I and all got an email from them. I got a text message from them when it was announced that the voting was extended by 1 hour. I got that. And I'm wondering how the hell the UNC get my contact number, because I know I am not affiliated with anything related to the UNC. But they're doing it however they got it the last time. Whatever they used, they're using it again. So they're pulling out all the stops. And I have told PNM people, understand what is at stake this time. It is easier, how I should put it, boy. When you come out of office, as Dr. Rowley told us recently, he said when you lose office, it is extremely difficult to get back into office. And this band of misfits, because Prasad Bisesa can't serve more than 1 term. She has already hinted that if she wins, this would be her last term. Not that she has a choice, but her body telling her, she fighting. So if perchance they were to win and she's unable to serve as prime minister, let's say a year or 2 years down the road, who is going to replace her? Who is the heir apparent? We're hearing it's Padarath. You could imagine Barry Padarath as the prime minister of this country. You feel people like Munilal and them will allow that to happen? Even if she endorses Barry? No. Because all of them wanted, they're thirsty for power. especially that one they call Munilal, the pussycat from Oropuch, fancies himself to be a lion. So let me tell you what they will do. Make the mistake tomorrow to say, well, I know PNM people not tootish to vote UNC. Might have one or two of them. Because I came upon a household the other day. And the woman, you could tell from, if it's one thing you learn campaigning, it's how to read body language quick. So the woman comes outside, stop by the gate. And as she's approaching me, she said, all you feel all you're going and win? I said, yes. She said, you're sure about that? I said, yes, I am. She said, okay. I said, well, I'm the PNM's candidate. And in the area today, putting a face to the name so that persons will have the benefit when they go to the polls and they see they're not just going to put their mark next to a name that they don't know or somebody that they've never met. I said, and I'm asking for your support on the 28th. And she gave me this kind of, I'm going back inside. But I'm saying you have, this campaign has been such an experience. You meet all kinds. So you have some of them, one or two of them might vote, but the majority of them who vex with the PNM would not vote for the UNC, they just wouldn't vote. And that has an impact as well, especially in the marginals of Sangre Grande, Toko Sangre Grande, St. Joseph, Tunapuna, I'd say to a lesser extent San Fernando West. Not so much Lauket at Alparo. But these people understand. They understand because we're hearing that they employ the services of foreign entities as well, right, to develop their strategy, their campaign strategy. They understand that the fight is really in the marginal. So how do you fix that? Simple. You build houses in the marginal seats, you put your supporters in these houses, and you're good to go. So when they're talking about 500 houses a week, and you see they come in the marginals, where the margin of the difference is about 800, 1,000, because in San Juan Barataria, it was just 1,060 votes separating GW and Saddam Hussein. All right? Just that. So St. Joseph, as I said, just over 800 votes. So if you're giving away 500 houses per week, it's not, they could put up a structure in St. Joseph somewhere there, Chamflair or whatever, because they have HTC units there. Put up one of those towers, or a couple of those towers that could hold about maybe 400-500 units, and you put your people inside it, your UNC supporters. You put them there, and you wipe out that margin. And all of a sudden, the marginal becomes a UNC stronghold. So when the next election comes around now, it's our uphill battle for the PNM, because they now have to deal with all these people that the UNC put there in HTC houses, in these marginal seats. Because remember, they have a solid 18 or so seats there. The PNM not that fortunate. We're not that fortunate. I think one of the areas in which we fell down is that we should have made more of an effort to turn at least 2 or 3 of those marginals into solid PNM seats. I'm not saying true voter padding as the case may be, as the UNC wants to do. Right? But to turn those into solid PNM seats. And that's our problem. These marginal things, we went and buy, and on the night, every election night, you're biting your nails down to stubble. A little bit again, you eat your fingers. It shouldn't be like that. There's supposed to be a cakewalk for the PNM. But the misinformation is out there. A lot of people buy into this lies from the UNC about the government going to take away your pension. And if you have 25,000, they're going to take. And a lot of senior citizens have bought into that stupidness. I have encountered a few of them believing that. When Parliament was prorogued, all bills lapsed. That bill was never debated, so it doesn't exist. So in the new Parliament, there's a whole new legislative agenda. But they're buying into nonsense. The UNC keep repeating about the government increased electricity rates and increased water rates. When did that happen? It did not. But people buying into that foolishness. Remember, Kamala told you all about inheritance tax? And the government was bringing an inheritance tax so that when it is that you die, your family have to pay an inheritance tax in order to inherit whatever property you left. Where is this inheritance tax? Made up. Lie. It never existed. And Dinesh Rambali told us that. when he fell out with them and he had his press conference and he told us this whole inheritance tax. Nobody in the UNC don't even know where Kamala get that from. But she come with that because she sit down whole day, her foot cock up on the recliner, and she watching Fox News and listening to Trump policies and talking about all these things, and then coming on the platform and talking nonsense and lying to people, and you have people buying into that. And the supporters of the UNC who don't know better, some of them, they even a rock has a higher IQ than them, going all over the place when they sit down in the bar and talking and stupidness. You ain't hear Kamala say the UNC, the PNM bringing an inheritance tax. You work hard your whole life to build your house, and you save a little money for your children, and then when you're dead, they want you to come and your children have to come and find money to pay tax to get what you work hard for to give to them, and people buying that. People buying into that. Where is this tax? 2 years, more than 2 years now, there was consultation with the RIC for an increase in electricity rates. No such increase has taken place. They're talking about the PNM want to send home workers in Wassa. But isn't that what they did? In 2013, 2014, there was they take $500 million loan to pay off for a VSEP program for Wassa. And people left, took the VSEP, went home for a month and then came back. So they get 1 month vacation, full pay, big pay at that, gratuity pay, severance pay, and then 1 month later they came back to work. But it was the UNC under Public Utilities Minister then, Hurricane George, Emmanuel George, said that Wassa was overstaffed by some 2,800 persons and that they were going to engage in a retrenchment exercise, and they did that. Today, this government has been paying back that $500 million loan that the UNC took for what was supposed to be a VSEP but wasn't a VSEP, was simply a hoodwink to pay Wassa workers to go through the front door and come back through the back. And 1 man get fired for that. And all of these workers come back, and after what they did with all the back pay, but not the back pay, sorry, the VSEP money that they get, and then still come back on the payroll. And Wassa is no better off today. That when that $500 million that they used could have been used to fix the Wassa infrastructure, the aging pipelines that is causing stress to people and Wassa's ability to deliver, because every time they fix a leak here, by next week down the road, the same line develop a leak lower down the road. So they have to come and dig up again. And then the next thing they have to replace the whole line. Billions of dollars. But all that money, you send home these people for 1 month, so they like themselves and have full pay, bank account fat. Who went and buy car and this and that and the other, the next, and then come back a month later. And that money, your government, this administration has to find the money every month to pay that installment with interest. But you're complaining, all that money, $600 billion, and what they do with it? The loan for the Cuba hospital, they had to find the money to pay that. Kamala didn't have that expense. The loan for the National Aquatic Center, the PNM had to find the money. This administration had to find the money because these loans came due in 2018. Payments started in 2018. So money that should have been going to build hospital and buy hospital bed, because all you know, you're obsessed with hospital bed and buy medication and buy laptops for your children and pay for school feeding and pay for uniforms and pay for transport for your children and all of that, because some they just want to make children and the government to mind them. The money that should have been going to that, this government has had to find it to service debt that the UNC incurred. The cycling center, the aquatic center, the racket center, Cuba Children's Hospital, all of these things, they borrowed money from the Chinese to build, despite the fact that they had the highest energy revenues in this country's history. Kamala said that. Highest energy revenues in this country's history. But everything, most of their infrastructural projects, they borrow money from the Chinese and they borrow money from this one. The only thing they didn't borrow money for was the $7 billion for the highway, because they realized you could real thief. And if you take a loan, that loan requires accountability. You have to account to whoever it is, then you, the IADB or whoever. We don't want that. So if we take the money from the treasury, we are accountable to ourselves. So we could thief as much as we want. That is why they were acquiring lands that did not need to be acquired and paying every single member of the household for the same property. So you pay 5 times for the same property. That is the kind of bubble. These people invented new ways to thief. When you hear some of the things that they did, you all always hear me talk about Wayne Chance and Vision and Mission. When he asked for governmental support and he gets a call telling him, we will give you the money, but you had to give $50,000 to an attorney whose name we will give you, and you will record that as being legal expenses for the operations of the entity, right? And that is how they will get the kickback. All these creative ways to thief, and we want to put them back. Always remember, Kamla Prasad Bisasa presided over that. Nobody but her. She was El Capo de Tutti Capi and turned a blind eye to it. She did that. She handpicked the people who orchestrated all that thieving. She did that. She must never be allowed to sit in the Prime Minister's office ever again. She's lazy. Completely lazy. Unfit. Mr. Manning told you that. The Kamla Prasad Bisasa today, who is offering herself as an alternative, is just not ready, my dear friends. Lacks the political skill, lacks the political training, lacks the political experience, lacks the political acumen, and would be a disaster if she were to become Prime Minister. Mr. Manning warned you all, and we saw it come to pass. Now she has an even worse bunch. Even worse bunch. When you have people like Philip Edward Alexander who win everybody and the sun for checks that his mouth wrote that his bank account can't cash. So he need this kobo sweat. He need this work so that he could use your taxpayers' money to pay Michaela and pay Imbert and whoever else he owe, and to pay all the legal fees. He need that work. After this man for months told you why Kamla Prasad Bisasa and the UNC were unfit, tell you that Kamla passed her expiry date, is elder abuse. If her family ain't see that the condition that she in and she's supposed to go home and relax, he told you that. And then today, he wants to tell you she's the best thing since sliced bread. So apparently she got younger. She's no longer past her expiry date. Her expiry date was renewed. There's no longer elder abuse. He said she tutter in, she could barely walk on her own. Apparently now she has stamina. She's, she could walk. Everything, all the issues he had with her, all of that has been solved. Coalition of interests. That's a very interesting name. Coalition of interests. Whose interest they serve? Their own, not yours. Their own selfish interest. And when you see the treasury door open, every thief for himself and the devil take the hindmost. Or rather, the citizenry takes the hindmost. So just beware. The polls open in just a few hours. In about 14 hours or so, 14 and a half hours, you will be able to, the first ballot will be cast. Well, ballots have been cast before, but on polling day, I don't need to be sitting in front of my television or wherever, uneasy. If you all go out and do what you did, we got 320, make it 350,000 this time now. You're vexed with the PNM? Okay, the PNM is not perfect. They made mistakes. Okay? But we ask for your forbearance. It's a new team. Dr. Rowley has handed over the reins to Stuart Young. Stuart Young has already given you a snippet of what governance under him is going to look like. He has a mix of young MPs and a mix of experienced MPs who will bring our own backgrounds to bear, who will bring our own fresh ideas to bear, to be able to deliver in a way that is different to what you've grown accustomed to. So yes, you're disappointed with the PNM. Okay, we get that. We get that. They made mistakes. You would have heard me say on this very program from time to time anyway when I was on radio. There are times when I find the PNM makes unforced errors. It's like, what did you do that for? You didn't need to do that. How you could do that? You can't do that. You all have heard me say that. But it is what it is. Okay, this is where we are. So, if there's one time I will encourage you all to follow what UNC supporters do. Okay? Stay faithful to your party. If it is, we drop the ball this time, well then whatever we get after that, we look for. But I could give you the assurance that is not going to happen. I don't know what else. I shouldn't even have to be telling PNM people this. But we are encouraged by what we saw yesterday at Eddie Hart. Persons of all ages came out. They, as I said, it wasn't a line. They came out to listen to sober contributions, and they got just that. They got entertainment. It was a good showing, and now we need that to convert into votes across all 41 constituencies. We are not delusional to believe that we could win all 41. We know that would not happen, right? Because in some constituencies, we just do not have the numbers, and it is a waste of time trying to convince UNC supporters, all right? You'd have a better outcome arguing with a mule than trying to convince or to bring common sense to UNC supporters. So, tomorrow is D-Day. No worry about. That's right, Delano. We had a COVID pandemic and a migrant crisis, all of which this government handled quite well. And Ian Nualoli says Esmond Ford. That's right. If you're in Tunapuna, cast your ballot solidly for Esmond Ford. You're in Diego Martin West, cast your ballot solidly for Hans De Veens. Laventel West, Karim Marcel. Laventel East Mova, Christian Birchwood. You are in Arima, you're casting your ballot solidly for Penny Beckles Robinson. Larketa Talparo, Foster Cummings. Sangre Grande, Toko Sangre Grande, cast your ballot solidly for Roger Monroe. Bring out your friends, bring out your family, even if they're upset with the PNM for whatever reason, tell them, here what, we go cost the PNM after, but come and cast your I want to hear nothing about you and voted. Go and cast your ballot and you could come back home and cost the PNM. We're taking that cost. But give us the vote too now. Okay? Don't punish yourself because you're vexed. Cast your ballot and then still cost the PNM because you're vexed because you didn't get something. All right? The drain in front of your yard, in front of your house and fix. So long you're complaining about the drain. Or the street light down the road. There's a whole year now, it ain't working and it ain't fixed yet. And you're vexed. Cost the PNM. Cost your councillor. But still cast your ballot anyway. All right? The Ministry of Efficiency and Implementation will deal with that. All of the bureaucracy and the red tape that is involved now in getting these things done that you all may not be aware of and that I only recently learned about, we're going to fix that. All right? Don't worry. But cast your ballot and then cuss. If all you want call me, I don't cuss, but I'll come and listen to your cuss the PNM. That's okay. You could call the program and cuss the PNM. I will allow you. But give us your vote for me, please. Okay? In what is this new seat? Is it Chin City Maloney? You're voting solidly for Camille Robinson Regis. Aruka Lopino, you're voting solidly for Marvin Gonzalez. Of course, Malaba Mausika, you're voting solidly for yours truly. Komoto Manzanilla, solid. Sanjeev Buru. Sanjeev is a solid one. Okay? St. Augustine, Renuka Sagram Singh Suklal. Cast your ballot. Point 14, forget, we don't know nothing about no Ernesto Keza. Forget he. He had the chopped yellow, is down with yellow code there. St. Augustine, not St. Augustine. Point 14 is strong PNM. Kennedy Richards. Cast the ballot down there for me, please. Labre, Randall Mitchell. You know what to do. Don't play the fool. Diego Martin Central, Simon de Nobrega. Diego Martin Northeast, Coleman Burt. All you're looking for is the Balize. All right? You're looking for the Balize. And none of these seats, we don't want to hear nothing about the PNM don't win already. It ain't had that. As I said, go to the polls, telling yourself it have no safe seat, and your one vote counts. And make sure carry everybody that you could with you. If your dog could have voted, tell you carry your dog too. What a gap. Trisha Roger says, I am ready and responsible. Thank you so much, Trisha. Arlene Lucen Stewart, point 14, Kennedy Richards Jr. That's right. Let me see. Who else we have here? Maruga, that's right. Lisa Atwater, better with Atwater. All right? So in Maruga Tableland, forget Michelle Benjamin. Forget Greenverbs Benjamin and focus on Lisa Atwater. All right? Cast your vote solidly for Lisa. In, what's the other seats, boy? Can't remember. Oh, gosh. Is Marisha Alvarado? Tabakit? Yes. Red is the word. That's right. There's no yellow code here. Red is the word. Tobago East, ram your finger in the ink up to your elbow for your Ayana Webster Roy. Tobago West, ram your finger in the ink up to your shoulder. And if you can reach your chin too, for Shamfa Kojo Lewis. Okay? Just do that. St. Joseph, same thing. Terence de Alsing. As many as we could get. Terence de Alsing. We're not playing that. Barataria San Juan, Yunus Ibrahim. Okay? Yunus Ibrahim. It is not impossible. It is very possible to do that. I see Nafisa Mohammed come out again. Another PNM turncoat. Grew up in a PNM household. Her father, one of the founders of the PNM. But once again, she has come out to endorse the UNC. Not surprised. I know talking nonsense about she vexed with the PNM because of the repatriation of Trinidad and Tobago citizens from Syria and the like. Nafisa rock so with that stupid talk. Rock so, you ain't fooling nobody. All right, you want to go and vote for Saddam, you vote for Saddam and whatever Saddam represents. Never mind the fact that it might be haram to your religion. But that's all right. You go and encourage people to vote for him. We on this side, we supporting Yunus Ibrahim, a man who has shown himself to be capable. And unlike Saddam Hussein, he's not a damn blasted liar. I saying Saddam is a liar. And a big one too. Shucks. We ain't voting for him. You're voting for Yunus. Okay? So, red is the word, a new chapter with Stuart. That's correct. Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, Stuart Richard Young. St. Anne's East, Nian Gatsby Dolly. Port of Spain South, Keith Scotland. Get it together. All right? Get it together. Pearl is saying we're rocking with Rocky in Princestown. Who else is there? Faizabad, Karen Khan. Thank you, Christopher Coffey. Shogunas East. We voting solidly for Rishi Sukai. Okay? Rishi Sukai. We need to flip that seat back. The last time we held that seat, it was under Mustafa Abdul Hamid. This time we took back that seat. So if you're in Shogunas East, please go out and vote solidly for Rishi Sukai. Let me see. Patsy Beatrice Bridgelal, Mayaro. Yes. Put a licking on Nicholas Morris. Waste of time. Mr. Highway Spans. I don't know, like he figure he wearing suspenders. But deal with him too. Give your vote to Miss Bridgelal. All right? San Fernando West. Yes, thank you, Arlene Lewis. We're voting for Faris Al-Rawi all the way. Faris, all the way. We have that San Fernando waterfront to complete. Remember, Pasad Bissessa said the housing development that is supposed to go up, she will not pursue that. All right? Just remember that. We're not having that. Go out and vote. Debs Baker, Omega Charles. She's out and bad in her red in Port of Spain South. Charles Corbin, he's voting solidly for Faris. Yes, Mr. Ramsing, Claxton Bay. Indeed. Now, let me see, who else is there? Red, ready, resolute, and responsible. Patricia Lamming. Thank you so much, Patricia. Annette McConney says Yunus is bringing home San Juan Barataria. Yes. Last time we held that seat was under Joseph Ross, under Patrick Manning. So it is quite doable. Right? All your PNM people, stop all your foolishness, please. Stop it. Go out and do what you need to do. Ensure that the PNM gets back into power and we will deal with all the issues you have after that. We will address it. All right? We taking the cost, we come in. If Stuart had to come and take the cost too, we will take it. And then we will do the work. But don't come to gripe and for 5 years, they all of them is the same thing. I know Kamlan. As I've told you all already, you make the mistake to give these people a chance. You make it difficult for your PNM MPs to be able to deliver. You make beggars out of your PNM MPs. Because when you have to go and beg this minister and beg that minister, and they decide they're not giving you any help so that your constituents will get upset with you and it improves their chances at the next go around in 2030. We're not having that. Do not make beggars out of your PNM MPs. All right? I'm not going and beg nobody. Telling you. Especially not no money law. And if it is all they want us to jam them in the parliament, we need to be on the right side of the speaker, not the left. Because we can't be jamming and then begging at the same time. Get that right. Get it together. We say good afternoon to Camille Pascal. It would be great if you all could give us a significant majority so we could actually get laws passed without needing the support of those miscreants, that band of brigands and thieves. Marian Devine says they're always talking about Kamala giving them big back pay. Yeah, they will see what big back pay they will get. Just remember, I read for you all in the manifesto where they plan to step away. Kamala said it, you heard it in the advertisement. What she said? Government not supposed to be involved in business. These companies will be better served in the private sector, put it into private hands. So all of the financiers who spending millions and millions on their campaign, licking their chops and trying to divvy up which state enterprise they're going to get. So who's setting the sights on NLCB that brings in over $1 billion in revenue every year? All right, all these entities, WASA and TNTech and TSTT, all they're talking about privatization, how the government want to sell out this, but it is in their manifesto. The manifesto also talks about they would go into the Heritage and Stabilization Fund and draw down on the interest portion of the fund to be able to pay down debt. That is what they said. So they've told you they will go into the HSF. And since the law was amended in 2020 to enable the government to be able to make withdrawals before the end of the financial year so that they could assist with COVID expenses, that safeguard that previously existed is no longer there. So they could go into the HSF fund anytime they want this time and take out how much money they want. And you mightn't even know when they do it. You mightn't even know when they do it. And again, the manifesto tells you they will not uphold the managed float, where your government uses the country's foreign reserves to provide supply of forex to the banking sector, so at least you could get a little something. They said they're not doing that. They want to rebuild the country's foreign reserves, to seek out foreign reserves with 10 billion, 12 billion, and boast and beat their chest. And meanwhile, you can't get a 200 US because the government have it sit down in central bank, collecting dust and cobweb when the citizen could use it. That is why it is where it is today. Your government could have done the same thing. They could have said, well, okay, we come in and we met it at 10 billion. So we want to grow it to 15 or 20 billion. So where's what we doing? Oh, the banks don't have hard luck. No, we're not touching the reserves. Let the exchange rate slide. Your government took a conscious decision to use the country's foreign reserves to defend the exchange rate at 6.79, where it has been for the last how many years. The UNC said they're not doing that. They will allow it to slide using a crawling band. There is no crawling band. The demand for foreign exchange today is higher than it was in 2020, higher than it was in 2015, higher than it was in 2010. So there is no crawling band. The demand being what it is, that crawling band, not even going to be creeping. It will be galloping like a horse. So in no time, it's going to go from 6.79 probably to $10 and wherever it goes beyond that until they will have no choice. Remember, I read for you all where Jawala Rambaran said in 2014 that they had already started drawing down on the country's foreign reserves to provide supply. So they saw the need to do that in 2014, but coming to tell you today is a bad thing, and the foreign reserves was X and now is Y. How did it get there? The same thing that they were doing, that Jawala Rambaran told us they were doing, is the same thing this administration did, providing supply. But they're telling you, aside from those who have licenses now, they're going to expand the network so they could give their friends, family, and financiers licenses so that when they could make a demand on central bank and they get foreign exchange and nobody knows about them, nobody knows about them, save and except for their people. So you want US? Go buy so-and-so. Yeah, he have a license. True, he have a license. You didn't know that? Yeah, he just get a quota from central bank. Check in and you'll get through. And he will go to him. Nobody else don't know. So that is a well-kept secret in their circles. And you have to go and try and fight up with the banks. Meanwhile, they're getting it easy because central bank giving this one, that one, and the next one a supply. No worry about from a please, right? I shouldn't have to be telling you all this. Remember, no campaigning tomorrow. So that's why I had to come on here today to make these points known and to reinforce it now, because it still has some people out there that yesterday when we passed on O'Meara Road, well, that part, Lisa Morris, Julian Boulevard, by the UNC camp, a whole house. They're using the bottom of a whole house on close to Samaru village there. And we pass in. And all you're seeing is Negroes for sale. Sit down there, hear them. Yellow is the code. Yellow is the code. And set a hungry mouth. Looking like they probably promised them they'll get a meal and they sit down waiting for it. Yellow is the code. Yellow is the code. Yellow is the code. All right. Yellow is all your code. But I'm marking faces. Anyway. Oh, Lord. Oh, Marianne Devine said she's out and bad on Monday. Fire now. Tobago East. Very good. Yes, Lina Rampasad. Caroni East. Very good. Very good. Adam, what is Adam's last name? Can't remember. Caroni Central. Adam's name slips me at the moment. Right? But Caroni Central, go out and cast your ballot as well. All right? Let me see here. San Fernando West. San Fernando East, sorry, Brian Manning. I saw a video with when we posted it on the debunking page where Mr. Macamillion, Ali Bocas, UNC's candidate, went somewhere in San Fernando East talking about he bringing love, 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 love. Eh? They show him the way out. Go from here, boy. We don't want to hear. Don't come here with all this ship in this rock. We don't want. Go from here. You lucky. You almost catch our bellas. You almost get bellas. And then he tell, rack up, fellas, let we go. Poor Jack. They send Jack down in San Fernando West to campaign with Mr. Dowlat. They figured Jack still have the star power. Hey, people, hey, look, Jack wanna buy. No, the novelty of Jack wanna wore out years ago, my friends. Years ago. People passing Jack on the street like a full bus. It's like, yeah, Jack don't have that appeal anymore. Poor Jack, he get run out of town too. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, telling me, they asked him to go down there with Jack. Say, Jack going on there, right? That wasn't the only place they get run out. They went in one area and they let them know, Jack, your money no good here, but go from here. Go from here. They try to talk, Jack say, let we go. So all over the place they're going now, they're getting run. San Fernando West don't want nothing to do with them. San Fernando East don't want anything to do with them. Now, I know Jack trying in Lopino Bonne. Well, Aruka Lopino, I think is the name of it. All right? He figure his maths is that, well, in 2020, he got a certain amount of votes on the ILP, and the UNC man got a certain amount of votes. So when he add the two, telling himself, well, that is more than what Marvin get. So if I could get those two sets of votes, then I could beat Marvin. But you were the great Jack Warner and you couldn't do it. You really feel this Titan woman could do it. Where she come from? Who is she? Who is she? What is her claim to fame? What is her claim to fame? Other than she loves to hold meetings at bars, because she know if you hold a meeting at a bar, you're sure to get a UNC crowd. Once it's a bar, rest assured the UNC crowd coming out. They love bars. That is all. Nothing of substance. So, no all about from a please. All right? Christopher Serret says most of the time I am in the first 10, 4 votes from my household. Very good. Joycelyn Raghunath Singh says St. Augustine, PNM red and ready. Excellent. Let me see. Trisha Roger is asking if people really gave up their ID card for money to suppress the vote. Yes, we understand they want to hold people ID cards. I mean, I know some people mention that as the only form of ID. Is an ID card. All right? But if you have another form of ID and you want to get them your ID card and you get money, tell them, well, that's the only ID I have, and then use your passport and go and vote for me, please. Right? If it is they want you to dip your finger in ink, in some red ink, so that if you go next morning, make sure you have a good bottle of bleach, Clorox, to dip your finger in. If your finger had to soak in that bleach whole night, and you lie down on your bed, right, then you put it in bleach alone, we're not diluted with no water. Stick your finger inside there and leave it soaking for the whole night. Next morning when you get up, it's looking like a salt plume, but that's all right. Do what you need to do. But go and cast your ballot for me, please. So that on tomorrow night, early, we could head down to Balize House. It mustn't have enough room on Tranquility Street. We must be take up that whole block all the way across to Cipriani Boulevard. Okay? Tomorrow night. Tears will shed, but the tears must not be in the camp of the PNM. Understand? Let the tears be the UNC and the UNC camp, not PNM camp. All right? So we will chat. We will chat. And we all want to shout tomorrow night, great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM, and we would have prevailed. Someone is asking, Dr. DCA is asking if Arangwes now in St. Joseph will help UNC. Will Arangwes leaving San Juan Barataria help PNM? That's a very good question. Very, very good question. You know, Arangwes is strong UNC, right? So, I mean, if it upsets one, it certainly would be a benefit to the other side, because the two most marginal seats are San Juan, Barataria, San Juan, and St. Joseph, right? They had the smallest, and Maruga Tableland. Those three had the smallest margins of victory. I think, what's her name? Michelle Benjamin probably won by 600 and something votes. Saddam 1,060 and oh gosh, Terrence just over 800 votes. So that shift in boundaries could make a difference. All right, but PNM has the numbers to win the election. All we need is for the people to go out. So just go out now. Just go out. That's all. Just go out. I have elderly citizens, some of them can walk and they say, "Man, come and pick me up, you know. I need a wheelchair. I ain't care. I want to be first in line, so come for me 5:30. That is the type of PNM supporter that we want. They ain't care. They can't walk. They want to go. They're willing to get up early. Come for me early. I don't want her to sit down in the hot sun. Some all able-bodied and talking a pack of rubbish, but you ain't voting. You're not serious. I could probably take one quick call. I see my campaign manager already calling me to tell me, boss, you ready? I come in, my friend. Let me see. Let's see, what is this? What is this? What is this? I have all these messages to respond to. Let's see. All right, I'll respond to all of these persons soon. 60 foot. Okay, no problem. Right. So, folks, I think that's it there for me today. Well, I guess when next we chat, it will be on Tuesday. All right, after the election. So, I look forward to rejoicing with you all tomorrow night. All right, let us make it a resounding victory for me, please. Everybody was at the rally yesterday. Come out, the tens of thousands of you all who viewed online, on YouTube, on Facebook, and wherever else you viewed. Please come out and vote. Encourage your friends, encourage your family, encourage your children who are voting age and can vote. Bring them out in their numbers. All right? We need at least 21. I got a 21 or no? I say it. I would like more, but 21 means we are sitting on the right side of the speaker. We will decide who the speaker is. Okay? And we will be there for another 5 years. But we would like more than 21. So please, do what you all need to do tomorrow. Get up early. Get up early. Say your prayers. Say your prayers again. And then say your prayers a third time. All right? And I know we have a lot of prayer warriors in the PNM all over the country who are praying for individual candidates and for the party as a whole to retain governance, because they understand what is at stake. All right? And then have your breakfast. Call your friends, call your family, call whoever. Tell them you're going down to the polls. Ask them if they need a lift. Call on them whole time during the day. They tell you, yeah, go in and vote. And nagging them, hey, you went yet? You went yet? The nagging must be so terrible. Say, all right, I go in. I'm fed up. Right? But if that is what you need to do, and they tell you they go in and you keep calling them to find out. You went, send me a picture of your finger. If they lie and say, yes, I went. I want to see a picture. Send me the picture of your finger now. I call in your video. Call. Let me see. If it, you keep nagging. Make sure they go. All right? Once that is done, tomorrow night, after God, remember God is great, put God first, we will all shout, great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And we have secured another 5 years in government. All right? So, we will chat again. Boy, and just as I'm about to leave, I see our friend Deva June has arrived. Mr. D. The Yamana. He come talking about crumbs. So he moved from yam to crumbs. Dave, I know that hurting earlier, that hurting earlier. That crowd yesterday, it was massive. Have you seen it? So I taken Jenny and then I bust it out. All right, I just taken Jenny today. All right, Jenny.
What happening? Good afternoon to you, Dominic, and all those who are students of factors over there.
Yeah, Jenny.
Dominic, you know, I'm no candidate last night. I just a little walking once and a limited. I feeling mash up. I want to comment on it. I really want. My heart was willing, Dominic.
Yes.
My heart was willing. Really willing, but you know, in your corner, I really couldn't make it. I couldn't make it. But I just want to tell you, I'm not going to wish us no luck. This has nothing to do with luck.
Correct.
This has to do with people in your constituency coming out and the numbers and voting resounding with you to keep up the spirit and the name of Lisa Morin Julian. Yeah? Don't disappoint us. Keep that going because had she been here in physical form, you all would have gone and voted for her and made sure the seat remains PNM. She's not here, unfortunately. So go and do the same thing because that is giving respect to her memory. So I urge the people of the constituency. What it is again, Dominic? I forget the change, you know.
My seat?
Yeah.
Malabar Mausika.
Malabar Mausika. I'm urging the constituents of Malabar Mausika to come out tomorrow. Them young ones between the ages of 18 and 40. You're always saying, oh, they know young people, you can't want that old people. You have a young person now, Dominic Romain. Come out and don't disappoint and be a part. You cannot want your voice to be heard and you take part in the process and just sit on the outside. That's not what is done. And I urge all other young people in all the other constituencies come out and vote resoundingly for the People's National Movement candidate. Let your voice be heard. Don't let the PNM go with a big amount of seats and have to be fighting up with UNC as they did for the last 5 years and the last 10 years. Make it where they have a clear majority so when they have to put laws and things in place and policies in place that will help you, the young person, and help all the constituents, they don't have a problem. All we can implore you all to do is come out in the numbers, even though it is a UNC quote-unquote stronghold. Come out still. The chances are you could make history and truth on top of that. Change it for real. And that crowd you see yesterday was big, magnificent. I love it. But that has to translate into the votes tomorrow. Goes there. Otherwise, all the work you all have been doing, coming out and supporting your candidate, making sure something to eat, something to drink, the maxis to drop here, sleepless night and all that will go to naught. If you all don't come out in your numbers tomorrow, God's State, and vote resoundingly for the People's National Movement candidates in your area. Don't matter, there's no UNC stronghold. If there's no stronghold, there's strong. Young people come and break up that stronghold thing in the UNC constituency. This is a national, a cosmopolitan country, here with a national party. So let me get the thing right. That's more I could say, Dominic. Yes. But again, Monday, God's State. My heart is strong for them. I feel like Mr. Family, not that a frightened, but the excitement. Call me when it's over. And I know we'll be saying together, great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And the PNM has prevailed to save this country again and again and again. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Jen. And all those who are saying, oh, Stuart, the PNM wants Stuart and they want Stuart, did you all see the response Stuart Young got yesterday when he came out? When they to speak, you all saw how the crowd went up? Listen, it have no infighting when it comes to Stuart. You all who talking and chop it up, but they hand pick and rowley for rubbish. Rubbish. You saw Dr. Oli and Stuart Young walk out together. Crowd went up in an uproar. That's what they wanted to see. Stuarty has the hearts of the people. Okay, see, when he coming through the crowd, he hugging up everybody. Special branch, problems. See, by the way, this man really lost we work. You see this man, everybody, he had to hug up, he had to touch, he had to. I'm taking Eric quick. I said it was Jenny alone. I'm taking Eric quick and then I go. I see yes, no. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon to all. This will be quick. Just want to remind people, this is the home stretch. This is the home stretch, people. We have 24 to 26 seats in the basket. All that come out. This is the home stretch. We cannot take 2 years and 3 years, and the information is out there. All that come out. And I am predicting a successful victory for the People's National Movement. 24 to 26 seats, I am seeing. We should do it, or they come out, and like Jenny say, call me when it's all over. And the late bandy, wake me up when it's all over. But I am certain that crowd yesterday is going to be transformed into the ballot paper and the voting booths and stations across Trinidad and Tobago. Right? And on the night of the election, we will all say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we have successfully retained another 5 years under the governance of the new incoming Prime Minister, the Honorable Stuart Richard Young, and his new cabinet. And let me say, congratulations to Ms. Anita Haynes Allen, who would have able to get our PNM's welcome into the party. Mr. Dinesh Rambali, welcome to the PNM party. This party is an all-inclusive party. And you know, when it comes to a PNM party, you're going to get love, attention, integrity, self-respect, professionalism, and determination. That is what the PNM stands for. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Let the other side take that to the heart and take it to the grave, because I know tomorrow night, Limotil, laxative, Gramazone, Lanet, rope will be at the usage tomorrow night. You know, we cost who will do what. But nevertheless, we'll be successful. People come out, bring your auntie, your nanny, your bossy, your grandfather, your grandmother, your aunt, your uncle, your donkey, your horse, your pig, your fish, your snake. Bring them out and let them cast the ballot. And we will be resounding these tomorrow night. Dominic, I am able to. I know you don't bring us to there already. So, but still, people, Malaba Mokita, come out and support a young, vibrant Dominic Romain for your next member of parliament for that constituency. And I know we'll be successful. So people, I'm near 16 hours to go before the polls open. So let's be focused and let's get it done.
Thank you, sir. Red is the word. 28 is the code. Somebody say here we want 28 seats. If all can bring that home, we would be grateful. All right? But nothing less than 21. 21 is the magic number. Okay? Just study no polls and all them things. The polls say Kamala Harris was going to win, and that didn't happen. So just do all you have to do for me. Please defy the polls. Go out tomorrow, right? So we can, all right. Because I don't plan to sit down here for another 5 years to do this. Okay? I wouldn't have to. Zina is the last one.
God's blessings to you. Good afternoon, everybody. All God's blessings. That is the most I have to say. Bring out, as the man say, everybody. Come out and vote. Dominic, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Yes, Victor Roberts also came across as well. All right, so we're not playing that. There's work to be done. And in order for us to do the work, we had to be in government, right? We don't make no beggars out of us. And we're not taking no 5 years of insults from the UNC. Well, when they told us we went, PNM ended up with a small maxi the last time, we ended up with no small maxi. Okay? Give us the Big Maxi. So folks, we will chat again on Tuesday morning. So I could play, you all know it have a song I normally play from R. Kelly, Sound of a Victory. I've had the pleasure of playing that for the last how many years. I'm gonna play it again on Tuesday morning, please. All right. So we'll chat again Tuesday morning, folks. Go out and do your civic duty. Great is the PNM.